All right, happy Monday. We are live. We got Joe Rosen and the amazing Lissette Hurtado, who just had a birthday. Lissette, happy birthday, bud.
Thank you. I appreciate all the love and everyone reaching out. It really meant a lot.
How was it? Did you have a good time?
We had a great time. The kids were loving life with Halloween Horror Nights, which I don't partake in because it's too scary for me, but I had fun watching them have fun. So that was good.
Oh, well, that's awesome, man. It looked like you had a blast, so that's good. All right, guys, today we're going to talk about a question I probably get more than any other question, which is, my gosh, Joe, either I just sold my house and now I'm concerned, am I going to be able to buy one? Or I'm thinking about selling my home. The selling part is pretty easy right now. It's the buy side that can be a little bit daunting. So, Lissette, I'm your seller. We're sitting down at the table. I'm loving the price you're telling me. In just about every listing presentation I'm in, price is not a problem. They're excited about what I'm saying. It's that next step, man. What are you advising people in that situation?
Let's get together. Let's make a list of what you're looking for, what you need. And then I'm going to present to you what the market conditions are. This is what the price range we need to be for what you're looking for. Can you afford that? Can you not? And let's get started now. Let's get on the road and start looking at properties while we're listing your home, because the sooner we start, the better.
I love that. I love that. And my favorite word in that whole thing was list, because I think that a lot of it, we get worried, right? Anytime it's not like you and I are realtors, we do this professionally. But if you don't do this professionally, or if you just tend to be a little bit higher anxiety, it can be really overwhelming to do anything that's new, right? Anything that's big, and this is huge. So to start with a list, a little bit of organization, some logic behind it is incredibly helpful. I think that that's fantastic. And I think that if we get into some of those details, right now, there's a lot of things you can do. You can sell your home, and a lot of times you can get a 45, 60, maybe even longer closing date, depending upon that situation with the buyer. And if you can do that, that gives you quite a bit of time to go out and find your own place, right? Another thing you can do is a lease back. It definitely narrows the buyer pool to be able to do that. So there are pros and cons to doing this, but a lease back would allow you to close on the property. Let's say Lisette's buying my property. She buys my property, but I'm scared. Oh my gosh, am I going to be able to find that next place? She was nice enough to give me a 45-day close. So I've got 45 days to go find my own place and get it locked down. But let's say I still need time. Lissette might be in a situation where she says, Joe, I'll give you a 30-day, a 60-day, whatever it is, lease back, where essentially she's the landlord and I am leasing from her. It's exactly like that. Usually it's enough to cover whatever her payment, I keep pointing the wrong way, her payment would be. And as long as it covers that, in most cases, that person's pretty happy, right? That is a lot of times, as a buyer, what gets a contract locked down these days. It's challenging to get contracts accepted. So when you can get in there and offer them something like that, something unique, especially if that seller needs that, wow, does that make your offer attractive? So I would say this too, buyer's agents, calling that listing agent and actually asking, hey, what kind of closing date are you looking for? Tell me a little bit about your seller's situation so we can create something that's really attractive. That's a great question. I can't tell you how many times I've had sellers in that situation, and you get loads of offers that have 20-day closings, 25-day closings. And I'm thinking, we're going in the wrong direction. And I know their intent is to make it look good, but it's actually doing the opposite. So tell me a little bit about that, and how do you time things out with these guys to make sure that they're not taking a risk?
That's pretty common. We've done a lot in the past, the lease backs. And the nice part about that is it is flexible. So you're not locked down to a 30-day lease. If you need the lease back for just a few days or a week or two, that's something you could work out with the buyer. And knowing that upfront ahead of the deal is great, because then you're setting up the buyer's expectations that they know it's going to be a little bit delayed to get into the property, giving you a little bit of time and communicating that upfront. So yeah, that's something really common that we do all the time. And not hard to work out at all. You just get on the proper terms. Hey, so you say this is what the rent is going for this property within the neighborhood, and then you just split it up on how many days you need that property for, and prorate it from there.
Another thing that we're getting asked a lot, and the more we get asked it, obviously, the tougher it gets to actually be able to solve the problem with this, is, hey, are there any short-term rentals out there? Right now, there are short-term rentals. I will say the easiest are Airbnb and VRBOs, but there are some hotels that will do longer stay, lower-priced rentals. But I will say this, expect for it to be a challenge. Expect for it to be pricier. It's going to cost you a little bit more to do that. And expect that it's going to be very challenging if you've got pets. If you've got pets and you're looking to do this, it's going to be tough. Doesn't mean it's going to be impossible, but there's solutions to that too, right? Solutions like friends, family. You can have them, I don't even know what the word is, but boarded for a month or whatever it takes. Does that suck? Yeah, there's a level of suck to anything we choose here. It's trying to really look at all of the options and say which one has the least amount of suck attached to it, and let's move forward with that. But right now, you absolutely can do short-term rentals. You'll always be able to do short-term rentals, but just realize you've got those issues with it. One other thing I want to talk about is, Joe, if I'm thinking about selling in this market, it's a hot market. I'm going to make a ton of money on my house. That's great, but then I got to turn around and blow all that money on my next house. So it's really kind of a wash, right? I'd say two things. Number one, that's true in every single market. So remember that when it is a buyer's market, right? And prices are, it is awesome to buy, but when you go to sell, it's going to be the same situation. So really, it's a wash. If you're doing both, it's a wash with the number two, which is an asterisk here. If you're moving up, let's take Port St. Lucie. If one home in Port St. Lucie has gone up 30% in a year, most other homes have gone up 25 to 35%. They all kind of go up together and they all kind of come down together. It's one big market. Now, if you compare Port St. Lucie to Kansas City or Seattle or San Diego, you're going to see different numbers. But within Port St. Lucie, it's going to be fairly consistent, right? So for that reason, if everything goes up 30% and you're moving from a 500,000 to a 500,000, it doesn't really matter, right? You're going to make an extra 30% on the sale. You're going to lose 30% more than you would have had you bought a year ago. It's a wash. But if you're moving up, that 30% on the bigger number, let's say you're moving from a 400 to a 600, that is going to be a bigger number, right? 30% on a $400,000 home is 120. On a 600, it's 180. So that's $60,000 difference. So remember that. But if you're moving down, so here's my folks who are maybe 60, 65, 70, or maybe it's somebody who's in their late 40s, early 50s. Their kids just went off to college and they're thinking, my gosh, I don't need a 2,500 square foot home. I'll go get a 17, 18, 1,900 square foot home. Any of these folks who are moving down in price, it's a good deal. You're going to make more on the bigger sale. And yeah, you're going to lose compared to a year ago on the smaller buy, but it's smaller. So the percentage is much less. Do you have any input on that, Lissette?
I think you made a fantastic point, especially if you're downsizing. This is the time now to really cash in on your profit on your property, and look for that smaller home. Maybe it's a smaller square footage, maybe it's a townhouse, maybe it's an apartment. But this is the time. This is a great opportunity. We have people that moved in the area 3-4 years ago, brought investment properties. If you're using those properties for rentals, these are a good time to also sell it. I have clients that are making great profit and they're not in need of buying another property. They're pocketing that.
Yeah. Well, I'll tell you what, I think the whole thing can really be summed up with that one word again, which is list. Just sit down with a professional, someone you trust. Lissette and I are more than happy to come over and talk with you. We'll show you every single thing that you have as far as options are considered. We can run all the numbers so you know, is it really a good time to buy and sell or is it not? And you can make good logical decisions. That's a big thing. Just being educated enough to make those good logical decisions. So with that, Lissette, I appreciate it. I hope you have a phenomenal day. Guys, again, as always, if you've got anything you want Lissette and I to touch on when it comes to the world of real estate, you can send either one of us a DM, an email, anything, and we'd be more than happy to make a video on it. I appreciate it. Lissette, have a phenomenal day, my friend.
Have a great one, guys.